Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for joining APLF webinar, and my name is Xavier from APLF.
And I'm Chion, and we are the hosts of today's webinar. Thank you for your continued support to our affairs, our activities, and our webinar. In touch, being with us all the time. We need each other's support to make this community stronger and bigger.
And in the following weeks, we will invite speakers from the leather and fashion industry to share their viewpoints with you. So please stay tuned on our websites and social media platforms for the updates. And also, we are recording this webinar, and you can see it after the webinar on YouTube.
So during the webinar, feel free to check with all the panelists and the attendees in the chat box. So you can select the recipients from the drop-down menu. If you have any question during the webinar, please type in the Q&A box. You will see this icon at the bottom of the screen, and we will answer you in the Q&A section.
And towards the end, we will ask you to complete our survey, so you can find the survey after exiting the webinar. So please take a minute to fill this out before leaving us today. Your feedback is very important to us to improve our future webinars. So today we have a great honor to have Debbie from Leather Naturally to be the speaker. So what is Leather Naturally? Leather Naturally is the industry association that promotes the use of sustainable leather and to inspire designers, consumers about its beauty, quality, and versatility. So let's welcome Debbie. Hello, Debbie, are you here?
There we go. I think I'm there now. Let me just...
Yes, I can hear you, but I cannot see you.
Okay, I am just going to share my screen here.
Yeah, I can see you now.
There we go. Yay. Now we can see me. Thank you very much for that introduction.
Thank you, Debbie.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. Thank you especially for your patience while we made the technology work. I won't bore you with the detail, but suffice to say, we've had the meltdown that everyone dreads, but we're here now. Leather Naturally usually presents a series of talks such as this at APLF, a show that none of us could attend this year, of course. So Leather Naturally would like to extend huge thanks to them for making this platform available and actually continuing to bring us all together when we're so far apart. As Xavier said, my name's Debbie Burton. I'm actually the communications lead for Leather Naturally. Before we get into the presentation, we're going to run a quick poll.
Yep.
Actually, can everyone hear me? Because I'm seeing some messages that some people have got no sound.
I can hear you, and I think some got the technical problem, but I think they need to restart their Zoom apps again.
Okay, excellent. No, I see some other people can hear me too. Okay, we're going to go straight into the poll. So what we like to know before we kick off is how many of you have actually heard of Leather Naturally? And go. I think, do we need to give anyone instructions for how to do the poll? They just hit the button on their screen.
Replied continuously. So I think we give a few more minutes for people to click. Okay, five seconds left. Here we go.
Okay.
Let's get the results out.
Excellent.
Great.
That is a great result. So to all of you that have heard of Leather Naturally, you can let's just get rid of that. You can maybe I don't know, go back to playing Candy Crush for the next slide, or maybe listen again and see if there's anything new. As Xavier said in the introduction, Leather Naturally is an industry organisation that promotes the use of globally manufactured sustainable leather. And what we're looking to do is inspire and inform everyone, from designers, creators, consumers, about the beauty, the quality and the versatility of leather. We're actually quite a unique organisation in that we're run by our own members. We have a management board. These are entirely volunteer positions that everyone does as part of their day job. And we come from right through the supply chain, from chemical companies to leather manufacturers. And I think unique in the respect that it's truly the leather industry coming together, including people that I guess would normally be competitors. The way we put the information out there is via a number of channels. The first one and the main one is our website, which is your first resource for balanced information about leather. If there's something that you want to know, the website is the first place to come to. We amplify all of the messages on that on our social media channels and via newsletters. So if you want to stay in touch, follow us on social media, sign up on the website to the newsletters. And thirdly, Leather Naturally has been the driving force between the creation of Mecha, which is a digital platform. We like to call it the Oracle of leather design culture, which sounds very grand, but actually if you take a look at it, I don't think it's too far from the truth. And you can either go to the website, or again you can sign up, and that'll send you cutting edge creation ideas, inspiration to your inbox every single week. And then apart from digitally, we get out and about there as much as we can. We go to industry fairs, where I said at the top of the presentation, we give talks such as these. We attend conferences around the world wherever we can, and we make presentations, whether that's to companies, to industry groups, even to universities and places of education, just to start to spread the word about leather and how relevant it is as a material today. What do we actually mean by a modern material? Actually, we mean one that utilizes or incorporates waste materials from a renewable source. We mean something that will last a long time, maybe something that even gets better with age and lasts so long it can be passed down between generations. We want something that can be easily repaired, maybe even be ultimately recycled into another product. We need a material that's versatile between different uses. More than all that, we need something that's responsibly made, a material that's transparent and accountable through certification and internationally recognised audit standards and manufacturing protocols. The premise of this presentation is that despite perhaps being the oldest form of recycling in the world, leather is that material. We're living in a world that wants to consume less, reuse more, and recycle everything. So the place we're starting from today is leather is that choice. Starting off, let's kick off with the recycled theme. Around 7.3 million tonnes of hides produced every year as a byproduct of the meat industry. If we didn't turn that into leather, it would go to waste, it would go to landfill. We already see situations now where if hides are not taken up, they're going to landfill. In my view, it's irresponsible to let that happen. In today's world, we have a responsibility to turn that waste and that byproduct into the versatile material that's leather. In fact, maybe we're even wrong to use the term recycling. We should call it upcycling, because we're taking a byproduct and we're turning it into something more valuable and more useful. Leather lasts a long time. Well-made leather, often we see products being passed between generations because it's easy to care for. Actually, people sometimes view leather as being a delicate material, and it's really not. Most forms of leather need barely any looking after. They're very easy to clean. Moreover, they don't need a lot of resources to clean them. They're not using power by going in a washing machine. They're not shedding by being washed in a washing machine. Modern technology can actually tan performance benefits into leather that stay there permanently. They don't need topping up, and they don't need replenishing. And more than anything else, leather improves with age as it lasts. And I chose this picture especially because I actually think a leather jacket is always better when it's secondhand. And this is a story from Mecha about a guy who's wearing his father's leather jacket. And I really like it because you get the story of the jacket from when his father wore it, and then what it now means to the son. It's kind of the emotion of the jacket and the history of the wearer being passed down through a generation. Leather can be repaired. It can be restored so that we can reuse it. What we're seeing more and more now is the growth of leather repair services. This is one that I urge you all to go take a look at. It's called the Restory, the Restory. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that. And it's a company that specializes in the restoration of luxury leather goods. It does handbags, it does footwear. And what I really like about their ethos is they're not looking to make the item brand new. They don't want to erase the history of it. They're just looking to refresh it. So you still have the item that's been your companion for years and years. You can still see the mark of your use on it. It just looks a little fresher. In fact, I think as we buy less, but we buy better, I think as consumers we will come to value obviously worn but cared for items rather than those that look box fresh. And what we're even seeing at the very start of the process is courses now for designers on how to create products that can more easily be repaired. For example, a zip that can be replaced without having to take a whole bag or a garment apart, fastenings that can be easily repaired or replaced, and so on. And I think this is something, this is a great thing. It's something we have to do more of. Is start at the very beginning of the process. And leather is a great material to do that. Leather lasts so well, it can actually be repurposed. You can take leather products apart, you can make it into other things. I've chosen this one, Peterson and Stoop, because this is a fantastic company. They take old sports footwear that everyone would think of trainers as just getting worn out and you chuck them away. And they have an incredible process that soaks the sole units off, and they take the uppers and they recreate them into something new. I urge you to go look at that. It's fantastic. But even before the end of its life, there are different stages through the process that we can take leather from and we can reuse it. Shavings and trims from the process can go into leatherboard, and even offcuts from product manufacturing can be used in other products towards zero waste. I think if you haven't seen it, you should check out the work of there's Elvis and Cress, I hope I've said that right, a brand that takes the smaller offcuts, say from bag manufacturing, and crafts it into alternative products. So gradually you're making items from smaller and smaller products until you've used everything up. And in fact, we're seeing whole brands built around this concept now. There's one from the outdoor sector. It doesn't use leather, but I think it's a great example. And that's the outdoor brand Cotopaxi, who all of its products are crafted around leftover pieces that maybe come from other items. So quite often you get multicolored products. The consumer doesn't choose what color the product is. They just get a mix of materials. And again, that's something that we see in the same way that we see designers learning to create products and be repaired. We see designers creating patterns where you can maximize the use of the whole of the leather, or that you create ranges that incorporate large pieces and smaller pieces. And then ultimately, leather will biodegrade. Leather is versatile. You can engineer it to be durable enough for furniture, yet soft enough for the most comfortable footwear. You can put it into the finest dress glove. You can put it into a motorcycle glove that's designed for the ultimate in protection. It makes an incredibly supple leather jacket. It will make a very firm and supportive walking boot. This is really down to the skills of leather makers. They're taking the same basic raw material and using their skills to engineer products that can have different end uses and different benefits. And ultimately, leather is beautiful. There's something about a natural material, I think. The fact that every hide or skin is unique, and again, this is down to the skills of leather makers to enhance the quality of that and then turn it into something functional as well. There aren't that many materials that get better looking with age. Leather is definitely one of them. I know I talked about leather jackets, but think about a beaten up leather sofa. I know I have a leather sofa. I swear I didn't start loving it. It was about 5 years old and started to look properly worn in and beaten up. What I love about leather is that the functionality and beauty are not mutually exclusive. And leather is comfortable. It has a breathability because of the way the fibres are arranged through the structure. It can absorb moisture without feeling damp, just that next to skin comfort. It's something we've seen definitely in product engineering for things like base layers. It's something material manufacturers have tried to create that leather does, where it will hold the moisture away from your skin, where it can gradually evaporate. And it conforms to the wearer for a very individual fit. I even think like a bag that's carried next to the body over the years slightly takes on your shape, and it buffs in a really nice way. You get a lovely wear pattern that's personal to you. And I mean, I think the comfort of a product creates memories too. Probably comfort is something we're all craving right now. So for me personally, this feels like a very apt slide. What amazes me is that we often speak about comfort as though that's something, it's kind of quite a utilitarian quality or utilitarian benefit. Maybe not that cool. Actually, I think comfort is the most luxurious of feelings. And leather has long been associated with luxury. The two go hand in hand. I think we'd all expect to see it in high-end handbags and high-end footwear. What I think is really interesting right now in a world that is ever more led by tech is when we want tech to have a feeling of luxury, we add leather to it. Think of beautiful leather phone covers, of like the softest headphones. It's leather, it brings a more personal feel, and it creates a user experience that is more natural and more emotion. I guess essentially what leather wants to do is it wants to make you touch it. I know that for sure, in that, you know, my office is right next to the tannery, and we do, in times when we're all allowed to mix more, we run a lot of tannery tours, and it's impossible to walk through. I swear, it doesn't matter how many years you've been working in the industry, it's impossible to walk through the tannery without touching leather. We all do it in our business all of the time. Even just drifting through casually, you'll see leather overhauls, you want to touch it. But ultimately, underpinning all of these benefits has to come responsible manufacturing. Consumers want to better know the provenance of the products that they buy, and operational transparency and environmental impact are a really important part of purchasing decisions. The leather industry understands this, and responsible manufacturers do commit to audited standards. And they work with initiatives such as ZDHC, Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals, and it works towards certification. And I've just put these up as some that you can look at. You can go onto the Leather Naturally website to learn more information. But Leather Working Group is a multi-stakeholder group that's made up of brands and manufacturers. It has a protocol that assesses environmental compliance and performance capabilities of leather manufacturers, and it promotes sustainable and appropriate environmental business practice across the industry. CSCB is the Brazilian Sustainability Certificate that looks at three things. It looks at economic, environmental, and social terms of leather manufacturing. As I've already covered, ZDHC looks at chemical discharge. It focuses on leather and other materials, and it maintains a manufacturing restricted substance list and wastewater guidelines. And then finally, ICIC is the Code of Conduct and Social Accountability from UNIC in Italy that defines the principles, conduct and social accountability of leather manufacturing. In short, it's not difficult to source from a responsible leather manufacturer. If leather did not exist, to be truly responsible in today's society, we would have to invent it. I would go as far as say, if leather was something we discovered today, if it was something we had never made, but we had always had this byproduct to deal with from the food industry, and someone found a way to make leather, we would be celebrating it. Instead, we have something that is, as I said at the top of the presentation, perhaps the oldest form of recycling or upcycling. But it turns out when we want to use less and use better, we should be using leather. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to leave you with a declaration. I'm going to leave you with some inspiration. And this is a video from Mecha that demonstrates leather in all its beauty, in all its crazy, in all its versatility. Now, enjoy the video. I do apologise if there's no sound. It was the cause of one of the technical problems we experienced at the beginning. I would suggest that even if you don't have sound, the pictures are great. Okay, thank you all for listening. Again, thank you to APLF for creating this really valuable platform at a time when we cannot meet around the world. Please do check out Leather Naturally. It's a source for more information on anything I've covered in the presentation. And do check out Mecha. It is a daily dose of design inspiration. It has great interviews with artisans. It is my source for all the greatest vintage store finds. And I think, as you've seen from the video, it has just the hottest style takes. And I have to say, getting the newsletter in my email once a week is just a delight to read at a time like this. Once again, thank you on behalf of Leather Naturally for watching. My apologies again for the delay at the beginning due to technical issues. I think we're ready to go to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. And because the video have no sound, maybe we can prepare the video and then send to you all the attendees later. So let's go to the Q&A. Okay, the first question is leather biodegradable? And then how about the chrome tan leather?
Yeah, it's leather. Different leathers do biodegrade at different rates, and I do appreciate that there's some might see that in creating it, are we in conflict here between making a product that lasts a long time and something that will then biodegrade? I think ultimately the two aren't mutually exclusive. I think the intention is always to create something that will last a long time, but then eventually at the end of its life it will biodegrade. We do know that that is at different rates, but definitely it's an improvement over synthetic materials, which will likely take hundreds of years.
So it's still regarding biodegradable. So is the term biodegrade in conflict with a product that lasts a long time? And the reason we retain is to ensure it resists deterioration.
Yeah, I do. I think, as I just referenced, I think you could see there being a conflict there, but I think ultimately you're looking for something that right the way through the life cycle it's doing the best it can. So you create a product from a material that can last a long time, that doesn't take a lot of resource to look after it, you know, even gets better with age, but then eventually when it gets to the end of its life, maybe can get repurposed, as we saw with those great trainers. But then eventually when you stop using it, or you have no further, it's got to the point where it can't be repaired anymore, then it can biodegrade. So I don't think there is a conflict between those. I think you're looking for something that does both.
Yeah. So the next one is what would be the future of leather, considering the rise in mock leather and light material nylon bag in the retail sector?
That is, I think that's such a good question. I think probably there's room for both in the world. I don't see leather becoming less important. I think especially as we look towards sustainability, because I think the consumer will eventually be looking for alternatives to plastics and synthetic materials, and that will return them to leather. I think we need more sustainable materials across the board in whatever we're making. I think what can be difficult in this scenario is where the consumer, we see the way things are labelled. Quite often we see things made from mock leather called synthetic leather or vegan leather. And as Leather Naturally, we know, because we get the questions, the consumer finds this very confusing. They don't really know what it means, and they don't understand that what they're looking at as synthetic leather or vegan leather actually might be made from plastic. That's the choice they may want to make, but also if it's someone who believes they're buying something that's natural, more environmentally friendly, that's where I think we do them a disservice. I think consumers will be looking more and more to the provenance of the materials that they buy. I think especially coming out of the recent pandemic. And I think we'll see people turning back to leather. But we have to be very clear about the labelling and the information we give to the consumer. We have to be open.
Yes. So what would be the correct answer for vegans which criticize us for using cute animal fur?
I think, again, it's a really great question, because I think if you're vegan and you prefer not to use animal products, then there's always going to be a trade-off. Right now, that trade-off might be that you have to use synthetic materials, but that may be where your line is and the choice that you make. But I think in terms of criticizing people that use leather, I think that's, again, it's an irresponsible thing to do, because while people eat meat, and let's not forget a lot of people still eat meat, then we will create a byproduct, and it would be incredibly irresponsible not to use that byproduct, especially when you can turn it into something that can be used for so many different things. So I think we have to find a place where we can exist comfortably in the world together.
Yes. So does pigment leather last more than natural non-pigment neck finish leathers?
I would say not necessarily. Again, it would depend on the overall type of leather, the thickness of the leather, what it's used for. Sometimes you can put a more hard wearing finish on leather. So for example, if we created a leather for a motorcycle glove, and I'll talk about that because as most of you know, Pitards became famous for making glove leather, so that's more of my background. If we make a leather for a motorcycle glove, we will make it with a deliberately more hard wearing finish on it and something that's abrasion resistant. If we're making leather for a dress glove, we will make it to be very fine and soft and something that stretches over the hand. So I wouldn't wear a dress glove to ride a motorbike, because that wouldn't last very long. But each will last well when being used for their appropriate end use.
So they want to know how to educate people between how generic leather is better than synthetics counterparts.
I would my really quick and easy answer is come to the Leather Naturally website, because we have a bunch of fact sheets that you can download and you can give to people. You can use them in education in your companies with your customers. We have a whole series of longer articles that you can read. We have a white paper on sustainability if you really want to get into right into the detail. So I would say use Leather Naturally yourself and use it, link to it. Anyone can use it, don't have to be a member to use the website. Come to it, send people links from that. We will actually be relaunching it at the end of this month, and the website, that is, will have a lot more content on there then. So I think it's a great place to start. If you don't see the answer to your question, just email us via the contact page. If we don't know the answer, we usually know someone that does.
So this is the question regarding Leather Naturally. So how Leather Naturally tackle the threat against the vegan concept?
We do two things. Firstly, when we see inaccuracies written in the press, we take that on. We write the publication concerned. We generally put out a press release. We'll put out information on our website which gives the correct information. Honestly, that doesn't always work, because what we see in today's society, which is very much driven by sound bites, we see publications, they will publish an article, say the headline might be "Billions of cows killed to make your handbag." So not true. Not billions and not killed to make your handbag. The journalist is interested in the headline and the clicks that gets. We rarely see them publish a correction, almost never. But we do that. We feel it's the right thing to do, is to take it on, because the more we write, then people will start to take notice and maybe remember the next time they write an article to come to Leather Naturally to find out the facts. The second, and I think the most powerful tool we have, is the website. Is we don't see our job as being to go against other materials, because as I said, the world needs a range of materials. It's not our job to criticize them. What the Leather Naturally website seeks to do is just to publish the facts about leather, the truth about it. We aim to be transparent and open. You can come onto the Leather Naturally website, you can see pictures of what a modern tannery looks like. I think this is the most powerful tool we have, and what we're constantly doing is working to optimize it so that when people are searching to find facts about leather, what they'll do is find Leather Naturally first to give them the answers they need. For us, it's, if a journalist is writing an article and they want to know information about leather, our objective is they come to Leather Naturally first.
Yeah, so regarding the tanners, one of the audience is asking, when looking for the leather suppliers, what are the things to look out for and to make sure they are responsible practice? They're using responsible practice?
I think this is from a tannery, or from someone using a tannery.
I think it's they are looking for leather supplier tannery. They are looking for tanners.
Again, I would start at Leather Naturally. All our members that are tanneries are on the website. They're a good place to start. I would say to everyone, know your supply chain, know where the leather comes from, visit the tannery. Is it audited? Does it have any certification? How does it deal with its effluent? How does it deal with its wastewater? I think responsible tanners, you won't have a fight to find the information from responsible tanners. Tanneries around the world now, they're looking to share how they make leather. They want to get rid of the mystique around it. No one wants it to be seen as a dark art. Everyone wants to share and be open, because it's for the good of the industry. It's for the good of leather going forward.
So one of the audience also asking about, is there any certificates that confirms the animal at the slaughterhouse or farms that are humanly raised?
It's probably going quite a specialist subject, I would suggest, but definitely traceability is something that everyone is working on. I think there are some really good initiatives in place out there. There are definitely some outdoor companies looking at sourcing leather where you can trace right back to the farm. It's not everywhere at the moment, but we're definitely seeing an increase in that. Traceability, it's not perfect right now, but you can, if a tannery works with LWG, for example, you can look at the traceability through that. I think, as with sustainability being a journey rather than an endpoint, I think traceability is something that we see improving and getting better visibility on all the time.
Yeah, so regarding traceability. So one of the attendees also asking about traceability in leather is becoming a big challenge because complete chain is never possible to check backward. How to explain to client in that situations?
I think through openness, really, to explain, and I do know that traceability is a complex issue in some cases, depending on where raw material is sourced. But I would say openness, working with customers, and explain where the raw material is sourced from and how and why. We may see advances in technology going forward that mean traceability will be less complex. I know I've certainly been to a few conferences that have looked at different ways we can do that. But for now, I think part of openness is explaining to people what you don't know as much as what you do know.
Okay, I think time is running out. Let's answer the last question. So is regarding the situation now. What does LN think about usage of leather products post COVID-19 and rose resections?
Oh, sorry, I think my sound just went a little bit there. What does it think of?
Think of the usage of leather products after these situations like the COVID-19 and the world recessions economy.
I think we will see, there was a trend even before the COVID-19 for fashion to slow down a little bit, for people to be purchasing more mindfully. We were definitely seeing a correction in retail where I like the phrase peak stuff. Everyone was at peak stuff. No one needs to buy any more stuff. They want to purchase more mindfully going forwards. And I think leather plays perfectly to that narrative, because it's a material that you would use when you're wanting to create products that last a long time and that consumers will want to invest in. So I think actually the world as it emerges from this is in a good place in terms of leather consumption. I don't, does that mean it's not going to be difficult coming out of it? Of course it is. But I do think consumers will be more minded to turn to raw materials such as leather.
Yeah. So we still have some questions. So those questions we will answer later after the webinar by email. Okay, thanks again, Debbie, for your
thank you.
presentations. So
I did see on the questions that some people want a link to some of the sources I mentioned earlier in the presentation, and I will put those up on the Leather Naturally website too.
Yeah, so if you got any further question or information needed about Leather Naturally, feel free to go to their website, and then you can also contact us, and then we will link you up with Debbie. So thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Okay. If you have if you are more interested in Leather Naturally service, they also have their web Facebook and website. You can also follow them on the social medias. So thank you, Debbie. And here is come to our next week section. We will have the APLF Trends Consultant to do the presentation with you on the product trends Spring Summer 2021. And I believe a lot of you will be interested in it. So make sure you reserve your seat, and you can scan the QR code and share with your followers as well. You can also find the link in the chat box that we are posting, so you can register there.
Yeah, so this is the end of our webinar. So don't forget to complete the survey and help us grow better. And hope you enjoy the webinar and see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.